Today, we're going to take a look at the Dell Inspiron, I'm not sure, Mini 10. It is a sub-notebook slash netbook designed by Dell. This particular series began shipping on February 26th of 2009. It's basically a laptop with a really fun form factor. Here's a quick look at the keyboard and display. You can also see a little webcam up there, which that could be fun later on. The left side of the device has a Kensington security lock, a power adapter port, a USB slot, and a multi-purpose memory card reader. The right side has headphone and microphone jacks, an HDMI port, which honestly kind of surprised me since usually these types of things only have VGA outputs. It also has 2 USB ports and an Ethernet port for network connectivity. Here's a quick look at the bottom of the device. You can see some specifications and model information here. Removing the battery is pretty simple. There are 2 slides which lock or unlock the battery. Once both are unlocked, it comes straight up. Here's a look at the battery information. It is a Type H768N battery. Inserting the battery is basically the opposite of taking it out. Just pop it in there and it will click into place. I didn't have the original power adapter for this device, so I used this one. It seems to do the job just fine. Let's take a look at the BIOS and see what's going on in there. Here we are at the main section. We get some information about the CPU, memory, and notably the apparent lack of a fixed hard drive, meaning that the hard drive currently inside of it might be broken. We'll take a look at that in a bit. The advanced section has a pretty wide range of options. I was surprised to see Bluetooth on there. That's pretty cool. There are also exit and boot sections which would allow the user to define custom boot orders and save changes to the BIOS. The security section locks up the BIOS for me and it forced me to restart. There may be an update that I can apply to fix this, but honestly I don't care too much about the security options for this thing, so I'll leave it be for now. The other sign that the hard drive is donezo is this clicking noise during boot. I boosted the audio here a little bit, but it is still noticeably loud in person. So let's get to that hard drive. First I'm going to remove the battery, and then unscrew these 3 screws. Next, I'm going to take the keyboard off. It came off pretty easily for me, so I have a feeling that someone must have taken this thing apart before. Here's a look at what's beneath the keyboard. We have a hard drive on the left and a wireless card on the right side. I'm not going to take the entire thing apart in this video. We're just going to try to get it working for now. The hard drive should probably be held in by this screw, but for some reason it's not properly aligned. Not sure what happened there. I was able to remove the hard drive by pulling the entire cage to the left. There are 4 screws holding this hard drive into that cage. And I'm just going to take that screw that was beneath the cage out and see if we can get that back in there later. I have this old hard drive that was laying around. We're just going to plug this one in there and see if it works. For the next bit, I'm going to take the 4 screws out of the cage, pull the old drive out, put the new one in, put it all back together to be able to get that new drive in there. Alright, so I was sliding it back into the SATA and power slot, but for some reason the cage and that screw hole aren't lining up. Not too sure what could be causing it, but I lightly screwed it in kind of diagonally, and it seemed to be holding into place now. I'm not sure, maybe it's a different cage that got swapped out with a different device by the previous owner. It's kind of hard to tell, but for some reason it's not lining up. After putting the keyboard back into place, you can close it and put these 3 screws back inside of it. Let's plug it in and see what we see. After booting back into the BIOS, I can see that it recognizes the hard drive and its size. Looks good to me. So I'm going to be putting Windows XP on this guy by booting from a USB flash drive. Here are the settings I used with Rufus to create the flash drive. Formatting the 500GB disk I threw in there took a few hours, so be mindful of that. This thing isn't running a 13th gen i9 Intel processor by any means. And here we are, Windows XP. The next fun part is installing a whole bunch of drivers that I downloaded directly from Dell's website. This will help with the audio, display, networking, webcam, and a whole bunch of other stuff. After rebooting, there's a pop-up asking for which wireless network to use. That's pretty neat, but I'm not exactly itching to get this thing online anytime soon. At least we know the network part probably works though, which is kinda cool. Let's take a look at the sound drivers and speakers. It seems to be working okay. This song is located within the System32 folder, and it was supposed to play during the operating system install, but for most people, audio drivers weren't set up at that point on their devices or computers, so it's silent during the install. It's a pretty cool song though, and the Windows Media Player visualizer still rocks to this day. There's a bit of software called the Dell TouchCam on their site. With it, you can throw a whole bunch of effects and stuff over yourself using the webcam. There's roses, hearts, happy birthday things, these little religious Funko Pop guys, a sniper scope, flowers, and a whole bunch of other filters. The distortion ones make it look like I'm about to ask for the potion seller's strongest potions. There's also these proto-VTuber metaverse meta company looking avatar things. It barely works, but it's still kinda cool. I am talking. I am talking. And nodding my head back and forth. I am talking. Well, it kind of works. But I tell you what, MS Paint is still paint, and for some reason this version will always be a favorite of mine. Now let's try out some PopCap games. I noticed some weird visual bugs when starting Peggle, but they went away after starting the actual game. The other games, Insane Aquarium and Plants vs. Zombies, seem to run okay. This is hardly a gaming computer by any means, but I'm still happy to see that some basic gaming stuff can be installed on these. I mean, PopCap games freaking rock. Where else can you feed virtual fish? And now I was gonna do a whole part of the video where I take apart the old hard drive for fun. I figured since it was broken anyway, it doesn't really matter. After removing all of the screws, the PCB part came off and I was able to pop it open. You can see the read and write head, the platters, all that kind of stuff. It's cool how pristine it looks. Now, I wasn't super familiar with how laptop hard drives worked at the time. Alright. It turns out that 2.5-inch hard drives are oftentimes constructed with glass. I figured most had just used aluminum. So as a word of warning, be careful when opening up old laptop hard drives for fun, or at least don't try to pop them open or out of the platter like I did. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something from this video, because I sure did towards the end. A whole bunch of tiny shards of glass went all over my room. So anyways, I'll see you next time whenever the next video comes out.